What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast here. It's been a while since we've sat down and done one of these, but we got a big one for you today. I got Hauger here from KIME Physical Therapy. It's our in-house physical therapy shop here that we share a facility with. We collab on a lot of things. It's been huge growing our business in the same building as these guys. And we're going to talk a little bit today about a very fun time here in the facility, and that's our pro off-season. We have a lot of pros that come in and out of here every off-season from any level, from independent ball to major leaguers. And I think we've done a really good job in the past of setting these guys up, getting them better, and sending them into their new seasons with some success. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that process is today. So, Evan, I'm going to let you lead that off, and we're going to talk about our physical assessment and kind of our first sit-down with these athletes. What are we trying to figure out, and what direction are we trying to go with them?
Before we go too far there, do you know it's been 6 years?
Wow. 6 years.
That's kind of wild.
That is big,
right?
It happens fast.
That didn't quite hit me. And then like a few of these guys have been with us for 6 years.
Absolutely, they
so
have.
that kind of starts to look a little different.
That is big.
It's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So assessment process. I think really this starts as like a sit down. It's you and I and the athlete, and it's really like an evaluation of the year that just happened. And so you've got all the data that you have access to that. Whatever they did during the year, so you can pull out cool metrics and info, and they bring us whatever they've got. And then we kind of talk through with them their health history, their body history, their like how everything went the whole year. And essentially it's an evaluation process of was that what we wanted? Was it what we expected? So did our preparation we did the year before lead to what we thought it would lead to, or like where were the hiccups and what went wrong? And so we take all of that, like where do they want to be? So it's kind of like 3 data points. It's like what happened, how did it all go? It's what do we want to start next spring training with? And then we need to, in that moment, take an assessment of exactly where they are right then.
Right.
And then our job is to help them kind of collaboratively connect all of these dots. So we do a physical assessment that looks at all the like predictors of things, but then also like mobility and strength and power and rate of force development, movement profile, and then you go much deeper on like on the baseball side when you pull out the TrackMan and all the other data stuff. And so then we take all of those things, that point A assessment, we try to connect the dots to what they need to show up to spring training as next year at point B, with the context of what happened last year. And if it's these guys that we've had for more than one off season or the 6 years, like we kind of know how their bodies respond to things, and we've watched them like progress over the years, because it's never like it's this like tiny little 3 to 4 month window. Not that much can happen in that chunk of time, right? So I think we've had this conversation with a bunch of these guys, like Dylan comes to mind as one, that each off season is like a progressive thing, and so there's like next steps to take. There's like the next thing to tackle, and each off season, I think your experience as a pro plays a big role in guiding that. So yeah, I mean, it's a collaborative process. We've done it. It's the two of us and the athlete. Their input matters a ton. We've also done it where we include the org. So in some cases, the players want the org involved. In some cases, they don't, and that's fine. So we've done it with kind of 4 parties. We've done it with just 3. So
yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing for me with adding you in this process, Evan, and the org has been the communication lines that we just get going. And I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. It's one of the very few places, at least in my experience, like going through pro ball, people just don't talk about things like this, right?
Right.
It's almost like front office works against on-field coaching staff, and training staff works against this and that.
And medical's over here, and they're all kind of like leveraging and fighting for position.
It's kind of wild, Yeah.
And
I think what we've done a very good job of is getting a very good line of communication between all of these entities and these parties that these players have to deal with, and kind of streamlining everything. That assessment process, I think, kind of gets the ball rolling for everything that we need to do.
Then it's fluid, right? So like that assessment is like a snapshot on that one day, probably after some of them have driven across the country. Right. So like the body looks like shit.
Yep.
Right. So it is like a snapshot. So then this does have to be like an ongoing kind of fluid process that we need to be prepared to make adjustments to and change. And so the program and everything that's come up with that day, we've probably never stuck into that for the whole off season. There's little things that have to be manipulated and changed all the time based on how they're responding. So there's kind of like a constant communication and reassessment process.
Yeah. And from there, it gives us a really good roadmap to build a lifting and throwing progression. We do have hitters in here as well, and kind of getting them a roadmap to connect the dots of the physical to the skill. So from there, I take that data and I look at, okay, what is the lowest hanging fruit? What are some of the things we can accomplish with the different phases we're going to go through? It's like, okay, early in the off season, throwing is kind of on the back burner. You know, we're kind of in a cool down period. We're not doing much stuff on the mound. You know, early on, we might do a delivery assessment to kind of look at, hey, are there any flaws and some things that are inefficient in the throw? We'll prescribe some plyos there. But early off-season stuff is usually, hey, let's get the body back feeling and moving good. Let's get feeling strong and moving really well in the weight room, kind of build the foundation, and then boom, we switch gears into, okay, long toss starts to progress. We start to add some volume and intensity mid off season with either a velo phase or, you know, max long toss, whatever guys like. We try to hit some maximal throwing mid off season. And then obviously we get to the mound stuff where kind of the weight room then takes the back burner, and it just needs to kind of be, that hay needs to be in the barn already. And we just need to maintain that, keep some movement focuses. Now, hey, pitch development, facing some hitters, going into spring training with your skill stuff really dialed. It's kind of a beautiful way that this is all meshed, and that can't happen if it's just, hey, your throwing coach is in here telling you this, you know. So
and showing up with the game plan, like the one piece
Right.
you didn't say there is like, yeah, you get them, like everybody's ready to throw and they show up ready to throw, but show up with like a plan for how they maintain and gain strength and keep their body the way it needs to be kept, and a plan for all of that for the course of the year. I think that's the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Because, you know, if they're with you and I for 4 months, the rest of the year they're on their own.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's org help to different degrees in different places. But, you know, those guys get bounced from one organization to another, or one level to another, different coaches, different everything.
Right.
So nothing remains consistent for them.
Yep.
The people we've had for years, we've remained consistent for them. So they've grown to trust, and so they'll communicate with us during the season, and so we can help kind of like guide them along the way
100%.
sometimes. So I think that in-season plan is one of the most critical parts that's kind of like we don't really talk about.
Right.
A ton.
Yeah. And, you know, that's kind of, we don't talk about it because we don't, you know, we're not the ones, you know, spending the time in person with them. But it's like,
Right.
man, we have to
Yeah.
put something in place that they can follow, you know,
Yeah.
because a lot of times these guys get lost. Let's talk a little bit about how we can help a guy that was injured during the season. What can we do in here, Ev, between the treatments you can give for them, the things you can offer from the org, and kind of things you and I can do together as me being a throwing trainer, you being a physical therapist, getting these guys healthy? How does that kind of look if a guy was hurt?
It completely depends on the injury, but I think it's all about, like, yes, we've got to treat the issue and treat what's going on, and you know, figure out the bigger part of the problem, maybe why it happened, and address all of those pieces of it. But at the end of the day, they still have to build their capacity and build their fitness and build everything for the season. So, like example with a guy right now, I won't say name, but like trunk injury,
Right.
and limited on some things, but there's lots that we can do. Like, he's started some of his throwing progression, so he can start building his arm fitness. There are things in the weight room he can do, and there are things he can't. So I think the biggest piece is being able to communicate. Here's what we're working on the treatment side. Here's where you can push the gas pedal down, and here's where we need to like have like a, you know, a yellow light or kind of a red light on things.
You know, that's been the funnest part for me, is obviously learning from you and your team over there, but being able to, whether it's been
That's mutual, by the way.
Yes.
That's mutual.
Thank
I've
you.
learned so much on the baseball side
right.
from you guys. Yeah.
But I mean, we've had, you know, new PTs come in here, and just it's so refreshing that I get to communicate with who's handling their medical side of this, and then they come to me and they're like, hey, what are some things? This is what I'm seeing. It's just been so refreshing. And honestly, it's the way to succeed with these athletes is the overall communication on their full scope of development, man.
And those are the cases that definitely have to be communicated back to the organization. So like, I have to write a note after every visit, and those notes go back to the organization. And I usually include like the stuff that's not injury related that they're doing, so their head trainer, their head PT can see all of that. So there's a kind of close the loop for all of that.
Right. And then the last thing I want to touch on, man, is something that gets overlooked, I think, a lot, and something that I pride myself very big on in here, and that's just our environment that we create for these pro guys. I think it's big that they have a lot of autonomy. It's their career at the end of the day. So their input on how they go about their work, it's not me to tell them like, hey, you need to be here at 8 a.m. in the morning and be on the line at 8:10 to start your warm up with everybody else.
But that's what it was like for you, right?
Right. That's how it was for me. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait, I don't throw at the same time as the starting pitcher. My routine looks nothing like his. We're actually not doing anything the same. So why are we going to get put in the same group? So I love that guys get to come in here. They work at their own pace. They do things, but then there also is the camaraderie of, hey, there's 30 other professional athletes chasing one goal in here, and we've had guys that have moved from out of town and they've now made this their off-season home. And I think it's because of the gym atmosphere, the family vibe we got in here. That the guy throwing next to you cares about you and your success in your career. So to tie this all together, man, I think we're just gonna say, if you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for some people that have some high experience in this field, reach out today, and we can help you put together a plan. We can help you collaborate through Evan's team and my team here at Optimum Athletes. Our pro off season is going to be bigger again than ever, and we have a lot of tools and a lot of high quality people in here that can help you. So thanks for joining us today, Evan. You guys will see a lot of him in the future and have seen a lot of him in the past. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all your hard work, man.
Awesome, dude.
Thank
Cheers.
you.